Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. Manchester United 3, Leicester 0, in what was a very good match for Manchester United and Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I think what was a proper and good send-off for Ruud van Nistelrooy's farewell send-off, kind of, in a way. Maybe he'll still be around at the club, but certainly as interim manager, as being in charge of Manchester United, I think we've said this before, but he's done a good job. He came in, he certainly steadied the ship. He got us to score a couple goals in a few matches. He's got us some points. And he went undefeated in 4 matches. So, no loss. Very good on that part. I think he did an excellent job to come in and steady the ship. And he gave Ruben Amorim the best possible just start to Manchester United. He left us in a good position. We've moved up in the table. We're not too far behind off of top 4 now. So, a round of applause for Ruud van Nistelrooy. We thank you for what you've done for the club. You've done a good job. You definitely certainly studied the ship. And yeah, it was very good. So very happy today. We scored 3 goals. We have something that we've been struggling to do is score goals, and we certainly done it today. Very good goal by Alejandro Garnacho, Bruno Fernandes, and obviously the other one was an own goal, but Bruno getting involved in that as well. So we're going to do live player ratings. We're going to break down the match. We're going to talk about some players individually, and we're going to talk a little bit of the outlook of, what Ruben Amorim is kind of stepping into, because he is taking over tomorrow. And maybe if Ruud is going to stick around as well. So we're going to break down all of that. Before we do, please smash the like button for me. If you're watching this now, smash the like button. It helps the channel grow. We greatly appreciate it. If you're watching it after the show has aired, please also smash the like button because it helps the channel grow a lot. And if you enjoy the content, subscribe. Join the community. Hit the notification bell so you get notifications when we do go live. But before we do that, just give me a second because I gotta fix something. All right. Now, we can get into the match. So the match, I think we played decently well. We were good defensively. We've been pretty all right defensively, so that was never the problem. The problem was really scoring goals, because we're not conceding too many goals, apart from early on in Ten Hag in a couple matches like Liverpool and Tottenham, etc. But the rest of the games overall in the season so far, we haven't been scoring. We haven't been conceding tons of goals. So we've always been kind of all right defensively. Our main problem is scoring goals, and today we were able to do it. And it was Bruno Fernandes' 250th appearance for the club. So getting on the score sheet, getting more important. And I think that there was a lot of players that played very well today. Definitely much better than the game on Thursday. And I think that they definitely certainly got a lot more involved and a lot better. There was 1 or 2 that they had a disappointing game. A below average game, and certainly, it's not something that you want to see. And I have some worries over them. One of them is, of course, Marcus Rashford. I think Marcus Rashford was very lackluster today. I think, he just never really got involved in the game in any way. And I'm worried about him. And the other one is Diego Dalot. I think Diego Dalot today did not have one of the best games. And obviously getting subbed off. For Johnny Evans to basically come on, play center back, and push Leach to the left, and put Maz on the right. And that's really only thing we can do, because we don't have any backups in that position anyway. So, certainly, those things are something that come into mind. RSV is in here. Big up to RSV. What are you thinking about the game? Lyle's also in here and has joined us now. What are you thinking? How are you feeling about the game? What do you think about Ruud's last dance kind of farewell send-off? The players gave it to him like we hoped they would, because he certainly deserves it. And it is going to be yet to be seen if he sticks around, because I don't think Ruud van Nistelrooy can necessarily continue on as assistant manager. I think the only thing he's really got is maybe to be an attacking coach. And I don't know, you know, he says he's willing to help the club in any way possible, so maybe he accepts it. But I think the best possible thing for him is to go. I think he'll get a job in the Prem. Um, you know, very, very easily. I don't think there's no problem with that. So I'd like to see him go back to being a manager because I want to see him progress. But RSV is saying big up. Ugarte is slowly getting better. Yep, I agree. Not trying to overhype him, but I think he has great potential. I just need to see it against big teams. Well, the thing about Ugarte, and Ugarte had a very, very good game today. And listen, I think one of the things that, you know, while we didn't agree with the way Erik ten Hag went about it, I think Erik ten Hag was certainly right in that, you know, Ugarte does have to get integrated. He does slowly have to get, you know, it's going to take some time. Again, these players that come in like Mazawari and they hit the ground running, right? It's not very common. It's not a usual thing. You know, there are players that they come to the English Premier League and to clubs that it takes time for them to really start hitting the highs of their ability. And I think not Garnacho, I think Ugarte is one, but I still think that the best possible way for him to really get integrated is by playing him. I don't think Manuel Ugarte will get integrated, and I actually certainly think that Manuel Ugarte will get integrated a lot quicker if you play him. You know, the way Ten Hag went about it, I never really agreed with it. You know, he said something about it's going to take 3 months for Ugarte to get integrated, and then he would play him one match, not play him another match, or he'd only give him like 10 minutes, or he wouldn't play him at all. You know, I think the way Ruud's gone about it and been like, no, we have a player here that, yeah, he's new, and yeah, he needs time, but we're going to play him. He's cost 60 million. He can be an important player. He has good ability. And he might not do everything perfect, and maybe he goes into a match here and there and he struggles, and maybe you got to take him off, but that's part of the process. But you got to play the guy. I mean, if you don't play the guy, it's going to take him longer to get really integrated and just fit into the system. So, you know, he certainly has great potential. And again, I've always said since we signed him that, you know, he's going to be our little pit bull in the match. And that's certainly one of his best traits or qualities, is that he is that little pit bull in the match. He does get, you know, involved. He does break up the play. He does put in a tackle, just stick in there. He does break up the play, like instead of stopping, you know, the opposition. So, and he's growing. You can see he's growing little by little. Is he 100% perfect? Absolutely not. But, you know, since he's come in, since the beginning of the season, he's certainly grown into that role, and he's still continuing to grow. So, you know, Lyle is saying good win for United. That was so emotional at the end with Ruud applauding the fans. Brilliant send off. Absolutely. And, you know, and also because it's a little bit up to him, not up to him, but it's a little bit like he doesn't really know, you know, if he, you know, that could be his last thing for Manchester United. He you know, his, as much as he wants to say, it's a little bit uncertain. You know, he might not be involved again at Manchester United, you know, going forward, because he might be technically out of a job. You know, there's still that uncertainty over if he is going to stay in some capacity. And you know, you gotta take it all in. You know what I mean? He doesn't know if he's gonna be, you know, back on that touch line in some capacity, or if he's still going to be at the club. So, you know, of course it's going to be emotional. But again, like I always said, the door is always going to be open for Ruud van Nistelrooy. I think he's done a fantastic job. I think he carries himself in a brilliant manner in terms of a coach, a manager, a head coach, whatever you want to call him. You know, and he's somebody that is a legend of the club. He understands the club. He was a great striker. And the door is always going to be open for him because he did his job. He did a fantastic job to take over and help the club and put the club in a good position. And he hasn't failed. So the door will always be open for him to come back at any point, at some point, you know? So, yeah. Højlund is a very confusing player. Could it be due to him not getting any service, or his bad first touch, body position, and lack of proper ball control? Well, RSV, I'm glad you mentioned Højlund, because Højlund is one that just everything about around Højlund right now is cutting a very frustrating figure for me. I think there is issues from Højlund, but I also think there's issues from the team that are not that has nothing to do with Rasmus Højlund himself. And today I was, when I was watching the match, I started off by I was like, these guys can't give him service. They don't give him the ball. They don't necessarily try to give him the ball in the good positions. But then at the same time, there are moments and times when Rasmus Højlund, for me, does not go in the correct position, the position that I believe he should be in. There was a point in time, there was a couple moments in the match where, Rasmus is more on the edge of the top of the box when we're in or near around the box. He's going on the top of the box instead of sitting on the defensive line inside of the box. And BRUNO kind of takes that position. If BRUNO doesn't have the ball, BRUNO takes that position, and Højlund is back, and it's really frustrating because I just want Rasmus to go up there, move up there. Why are you back here? Why are you actually where BRUNO should be? Because the ball then ends up coming into that position, but he's not there. So, and then the other times they don't give him good service. Rashford tried to put in a couple balls. They were shit crosses. They never reached Rasmus Højlund. They were never going to reach Rasmus Højlund. And even some of our other players, they try to put the ball in, and it's never going to reach Rasmus Højlund. There's no chance of it reaching Rasmus Højlund because it's just a terrible ball into the box. So I'm getting sort of frustrated around the whole Rasmus situation because our striker is just not involved in for multiple different ways. And then also, I think, to your point, RSV, I think what happens is he starts getting a little bit, frustrated, because I can imagine and I can picture you in there. You're the striker. You're supposed to be the main man. You have that mentality. Your job is to score goals for the team. That's your main job, is to put the ball in the back of the net for the team. And when you're on the pitch and you kind of feel like, the game is kind of being played without you, and you're not getting those opportunities, and you start doing things on the pitch that you shouldn't necessarily be doing because you're just trying to figure out, how do I get on the ball? How do I create an opportunity for myself? How do I get a chance on target? Because he's not even getting chances on target. So, I think it's a dynamic between him and the team. But I think one thing that he needs to do is he needs to not start going completely out of position and all over the place because he's not getting the service. Because what tends to happen is he starts going out of this position. He starts dropping deeper. He starts putting himself in different areas in and around the box because he's not getting the ball when he is in the correct position. And I think it leads to him just really... It just leads to him to end up not getting the ball even further, because then the ball does end up coming there. And while it's frustrating, the ball does end up coming there, but then he's not there. So hopefully under Ruben Amorim, with what he's done with UGARTE, and the way he's got him in form and kind of scoring all the goals, hopefully we figure that out, and hopefully the system is a little bit better so it helps out Rasmus Højlund a little bit as well, because he'll have two players behind him. We'll obviously have the wing backs. The wing backs should be able to put crosses in, and better crosses, and maybe the likes of Luke Shaw coming back as well. So but yeah, Lyle saying UGARTE shows us why exactly Erik ten Hag got sacked. Well, yeah, I think I don't think it's necessarily exact 100%. I don't think it's 100% why Erik ten Hag got sacked, but I think it is a big part as to why Erik ten Hag got sacked. I think there's multiple reasons, and for Erik ten Hag getting sacked. I think it would be kind of crazy to just just on the decision making of players to sack the manager, but I certainly think it played a big role, and we've talked about this. And again, even my father today, when we were watching the match, he said it as well. He said, I don't understand how you go and you buy a player like UGARTE for 60 million and you don't play him and you don't give him minutes. And when he said that, it was just the only thought that popped into my head is things that we said on the show before, is that Erik ten Hag, in his processes, in his way of managing, really truly believed I cannot play Manuel Ugarte, and he's going to take time to integrate because he came late, he missed preseason, he came from another league, and clearly he's not up to speed in the system. And because he's not up to speed in the system in his eyes and whatever he's doing in training, therefore I can't play him because he has to first get up to speed in training before I can give him minutes on the pitch. And to me, that's insane. To me, that's, I don't know what kind of thinking that is. I don't know, what that's all about. But clearly that's obviously wrong. It's just wrong. And he's gone the wrong way about it. And things like that have led to, I think, the team being dysfunctional, the team not getting sort of, results and stuff like that. And it's just the wrong thing to do. It is. And again, the other thought that went with that popped into my head is he does things like that. And this is the only thing that I can think of because I can't ask him the question. And no one's going to ask him the question. So we're never going to really get the answer. But the only thing I could kind of think of is he is a man that does not take risks. And in my eyes, the way I see it, it's like you get a player that's come late to the team. He's not per se up to speed in his eyes, the system and all that. There's been players that have been here longer than him. They understand the system supposedly, right? More than him. They're more integrated. They understand the league a little bit more. It is a risk. It is a risk in a way, in its own way, to take a player like Manuel Ugarte and start him and play him immediately. It is a risk. And Erik ten Hag is a man that is not about risks. And I think that's one of the things that has led to him getting the sack, is that he's not a risk taker. He's all about, it's like a paper pusher almost. It's like somebody that works in like sort of an office. Everything has to be organized and neat, and it has to have a certain process, and you can't stray from that. If you stray from that, it leads to chaos. It leads to, it doesn't lead to the proper results. It doesn't lead to the proper things. So to me, that's how I view it, and that's how I think he was really going about it. That's why he said Ugarte needs 3 months before he can even like properly get integrated into the squad. And the whole process was wrong. It really was wrong under Erik ten Hag, and there's a reason why that's gone on like that. And Lyle's saying Højlund is your typical striker. He thrives on goals. We don't play through our striker. Absolutely. He said we don't go through the center of our team. His positioning is off because we're basically playing without focus on the striker. Yeah, I mean, he 100%. He's definitely your typical striker that thrives off goals. I think any striker will strive off goals. We don't play through our striker. That's 100% the thing. The team, the players, our players, we don't play through the striker. We don't, our players on the pitch don't look at the striker as the focal point. They don't play in the manner of, it is the utmost important to get the ball to the striker because that's where the goals are going to come from. It's very almost individualistic at times. Or it's very focused on, the wingers that are inside forwards per se. So, that in its own thing is a problem. And then as Lyle said as well, his positioning is off because we basically play without a focus on the striker. And that's kind of what I was alluding to. Like, his positioning ends up coming off because he's trying to get involved in the game in one way or another. And when you're a striker, you have that mentality. Your job is to score goals. That is your sole and only job. And when you're not involved in the game, you start doing things that you shouldn't necessarily be doing because you feel like you're not involved in the play. You're not getting opportunities. So you start doing things other than sitting on the back line and sitting in the proper positions in the box to get on the chance. You start doing things because you're just like, all right, like, I will move, I guess. I'll go in a different position. Maybe you can give me the ball there. And then when he moves, they still don't give him the ball. The ball ends up going to somebody else that actually takes his position. So, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they, like, I don't know if they don't trust him per se. I don't know if they don't necessarily like him too much. You know, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just a focus from the team overall. Maybe it has nothing to do with that. Maybe it's just like the way we set up and we actually play, that they're not drilled to really look for him. You know, I'm not sure, but I hope it's the latter, because you could at least change that. You could at least train them, and Amorim can at least get them to, you know, make Rasmus Højlund the focal point. No, but yeah, definitely one of the reasons why Erik ten Hag got sacked. Lines is in here as well, saying about Erik ten Hag, if how LVG got sacked didn't happen, do you think Erik ten Hag would have still been in the job after the FA Cup win? Yeah, probably. I don't think it really had to do with LVG. You know, I don't. I think they looked at it from an Erik ten Hag point of view. I think they looked at it sort of from the fans. I think they kind of did what we did. I mean, they looked at it and they were like, he had one good season, one shit season, but the shit season was hard to judge because of the amount of injuries, and therefore they were like, let's just give it a go for the third season and see what happens. We'll try and get the players as fit as possible. We'll try and, you know, support him in the transfer market and get players in and strengthen the squad. And I think they did all those things. And I think, again, you know, he made some weird decisions. And he made mistakes, and clearly there was something off about the team, because the team looked so far behind from the beginning of the season compared to other teams. So, you know, there was a lot of things that he did that didn't help himself, and he didn't put himself in the best possible position. And I think he was certainly backed. So, can we smash the like button, please? And we're going to do live player ratings. Let's get into the live player ratings, because I want to kind of get to those so we could talk a little bit more about the players individually. So let me pull this up side by side by the chat so I could see what is going on. And Lines is saying, I think the backlash of how LVG got sacked made Ineos double think. Nah, I think that's more of a... I mean, for me personally, I think that's more of just a fan thing. I think that's more of just a fan thing. I don't, you know, I would certainly hope, and I think and I believe with the way they sort of operate, from the examples we've gotten so far, I don't think they necessarily took that into consideration. I don't think they should at all, just because he's a Dutch guy that was here and got sacked after the FA Cup. You know, when you're looking at Ten Hag, it has to only be about Ten Hag. It can't be about, you know, what happened under the previous regime. Under, you know, there was a totally different amount of players. So, you know, I don't think that they would take that into account, because for me it just doesn't make enough sense. Now, if we had, you know, a Richard Arnold in charge at that time, or something like that, or even like, you know, Ed Woodward was still there, then I would certainly think, okay, maybe. But because they're totally different people and it was a totally different regime, I don't think they should really be looking at LVG to make that decision. So I don't think so. I think it was really just based on Erik ten Hag and you know, his 2 seasons. And again, you know, one was good and one was bad. So you know, it makes it kind of hard to be so definitive and be like, okay, all right, he's clearly the wrong man, because the first season was so good and the second season was so plagued by injuries, and it was just so bad that it was like, you know, what do you really do here? It's almost like a 50-50, and they took the gamble on sticking with him, and that's how I see it. But for me, Onana, I give him a 7. Kept a clean sheet. He didn't have too much to do. I think the sweeping was good. I think he was releasing the ball a lot quicker today. I don't think he had to make too many saves, but he did make a couple good saves in that aspect. So, you know, I give him a 7 today for sure, certainly. Diego Dalot, I'm gonna give Diego a 5 today. Again, it was a very sort of poor performance from Dalot. You know, he's just not at his best right now. He's certainly struggling. Was obviously subbed off and pulled off, and was subbed off pretty much because, in my opinion, he was playing bad. I mean, he was subbed off. You know, usually we don't even sub them off. We just let them play if they're playing good, because, but he was subbed off to the point of where, you know, we put on Johnny Evans and to put Lisandro at left back, to play Maz at right back, and that just tells you that. That just tells you that, you know, Dalot was having a bad game. And, I do applaud Ruud for things like that, because he could have left him on and could have just said, well, we don't have a left back, and I don't really want to put Leach at left back and move him out of center back. But clearly, like, Delo wasn't having a good game, and he needed to be subbed off, and he needed to be to come off, and then we needed a kind of a change. So he did that, and I like that, because again, when players aren't playing good, you don't just leave them on the pitch. Number one, to suffer, and number two, to hurt the team. You got to make the change. One way or another, whatever you do, you got to make some sort of change. You gotta help them out, take them out of the firing line, and then also help the squad out so we can, continue to perform in all areas. So, I think, definitely, certainly, and Ray has joined us now as well. Mateus de Ligt, I will give him a 6.5 because, again, I think he did good, but I don't think they had much to do. I don't. And I think, we controlled most of the match. We had most of the possession. Leicester didn't really have too many opportunities, chances on goal. So, I don't, it's not a criticism that you don't get a 7, because I'm going to give the same for Lisandro Martinez. I just don't think they had a lot to do in the match. I think when they did have things to do, they did it, but I don't think they had too many actions in that aspect. So, for sure, I think they did what they had to do, but it wasn't a lot. For me, I give Maz a 7. I think Maz, again, had a very, very good game. I think he was fantastic. I think he's been the bargain of the season for sure. I mean, this guy come in, we didn't pay a lot of money for him. Experienced player, come from Bayern Munich, has come to Manchester United, and has hit the ground running. And I really like his game. I like both sides of his game. I like both aspects of the game. I mean, he does the defending so well. He fights for the ball. He really does. And then, he gets up the pitch. He's good in attacking spaces and areas. And then he's good defensively as well. So, for me, I think Maz certainly deserves a 7. There's an argument for this player today, and I'm going to give Manuel Ugarte a 7.5. There's an argument for him to be man of the match. Certainly, because I think he was very impactful today. I think he was very involved. And he plays a position that doesn't necessarily get glorified for the job you do, right? He does the dirty work. That is the position where you got to do the dirty work. And I think today he certainly showed, what was one of the reasons we bought him for. Like, he is an important player. He's going to be an important player. This guy breaks up the play excellently. He had some very good passes today. His positioning is very good. And again, to me, he's just like a little pit bull. Like, to me, the way I see him is like he is like Lisandro Martinez, but of the midfield. Like, he is just this little pit bull that breaks up the play, that gets involved, that like he puts a foot in on an opposing player, takes the team foul, stops them from playing, stops the play, lets the team get reorganized and stuff like that. He knows when to do it. He knows when not to do it. He was on a yellow card. He got the yellow card. After the yellow card, very, very intelligent. Never made really sort of a bad tackle that was going to get him a second yellow and get him in trouble. He was self-aware of that. So, I think he had a very, very excellent game today. And, for the stats people out there, I think the stats would certainly back it up today for sure. For me, I give Cass... I usually go evenish numbers, but maybe I'll give Cass a little bit of like a 6.8. I think he was in between a 7 and a 6.5 today. But RSV saying, even in today's game, there were many times when Leicester managed to break the line. They lacked quality in the final third. They did, and I think, well, one of those main reasons, or one of those main chances that they had, that they broke the line, that was because of Diego Dalot. Like, the rest of our line was in line. They did their job. Diego Dalot was ball watching and started wandering, and he left whoever that Leicester player was. I forgot his name, but he left him on side. And that's all Dalot's fault, because, he's ball watching. And he can't be ball watching because, you know, they could have, and they could have easily scored from that. And they probably should have scored because he was onside and he was by himself and it was literally 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. You know, but the rest of the defensive line, they did their job. They stepped up. They knew what they were doing. And that's why it's important. We're going to get to Rashford. Don't worry, Grace. But, you know, that's why it's important that, you know, everybody's on the same page. Because things like that do happen. And Ray is in here. And he's saying, good win, but for me, feels fake. Yeah, I mean... it's not necessarily like fake, I would say. You know, I think Ruud did change it up a little bit. I think he steadied the ship. I think, again, Ruud is his own man. Even though he was there to help Erik ten Hag, I think he's his own man. He has his own way of communication. He has his own way of setting up the team. So there are differences, but we still need major improvement in certain aspects of playing, and sort of a style and a system. You know, and obviously that's going to have to come with Ruben Amorim. Like, you know, Ruud was never going to be able to do that. But I think the players, I think one of the things are, like, they understand what Ruud wants from them a lot more than what they want from Erik ten Hag. I think, you know, just Erik ten Hag being the man he is, the manager he is, and sort of probably the things that he demanded. It certainly probably definitely was confusing, and the players didn't really understand their jobs as much as they should. I think Ruud's come in there. He sort of simplified it. He turned it into a 4-4-2. And I think he just simplified it for them, which allowed them to kind of play a little bit their game a lot better. So, you know, I think now Ruben Amorim is going to come in. But I think, again, he's supposed to be this guy that's very communicating with the players. Obviously, UGARTE is somebody that knows of him very, very well. You know, they seem excited by him. So hopefully, he can get his message and his philosophy and you know, what he wants from them across in this new sort of system and style. And let's see what happens. And Ray says, I hope Amorim ups the game. Well, I think he certainly can. How fast that's going to happen, we got to wait and see, because I think some things are a longer part of the process. I think some things we can improve rather quickly. So, you know, for it to all hit, I think it's going to take a little bit. Like, it's going to take certainly probably, you know, at least a month or so. But there's minor things in terms of, you know, you should be able to pass the ball quicker. You should be able to move off of the ball better. You should be able to, you know, be in position better. I don't think those things should take too long. It might take, you know, a couple matches to really get it down, but I don't think those things should take too long. Gray saying, let's all clap for the TV coverage in the UK. Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand. I don't really understand how they do that stuff to you guys, Grace. You know, I don't get it. I don't get it. It really baffles me. You know, I was watching it on, it was a channel, I think it's called like Premier Sports or something, which literally is aired from China. So China has your game. China has a UK game on, but the UK doesn't have a UK game on, you know, like, so I don't really understand it, but, you know, it doesn't make sense. But back to the player ratings. Cass, again, I gave him sort of like a 6.8-ish, because I think it was in between a 6.5 and a 7, because, he did a good job in certain aspects, defensively and stuff like that, but then also there's times where he just does get dispossessed, and he's too slow. And that is my only thing about Casemiro. I think I like Casemiro. I think he's stable in a certain aspect, but there's just these little moments where he is too slow to react at times, and he gets the ball nicked off of him in a position in the midfield that you can't really be affording to get the ball nicked off of you. Sometimes he's too slow to react. Sometimes he's too slow to get back, and those are my only issues. But I think otherwise he's very stable in terms of defensively, and even going forward and like attacking output, he can get involved in a very good way. So I I think he played a good game, but there's just these little moments there that, he did get dispossessed. He was too slow to react. He was sort of caught out of position at times, but I think overall it was a good game. For me, Amad Diallo, I want to give him sort of like like a 7.2 or something like that. Because I think Ahmad was very, very bright again today. He was one of the only players, not one of the only players, but he was one of the players that really stood out a lot. And especially in like the attacking sense, out of the Rashford and the Højlund, and even a little bit of Bruno at moments. Diallo is one. This guy's getting on the ball. He's feeling confident. He's playing confident. He's making things happen. He's almost emulated kind of sort of a Garnacho effect, where like now he's getting on the ball, and the way he plays with confidence, like things are just happening. When he's getting on the ball, like chances are being created. He looks very threatening. He's cutting defenses open. He's making defenders' lives miserable against them. So, again, and I'm glad he was able to start, and I'm glad he was able to play. He played all 90 minutes, and he wasn't out injured, because I think he certainly deserved to start after what he did for us last match. So, I'm happy that he did it, and he played very, very well, very attacking. In my opinion, he should have had a goal. That chance that he had right before halftime, he got put off just a little slightly, so it was a little bit unlucky. He sort of rushed the shot a little bit to try and get it off, because I think he was afraid it was going to get blocked. But it was a very good move to get into the box. It was very, very, very good attacking move, and I think he certainly should have scored. It was a little bit unlucky, a little bit rushed. But other than that, I think overall he had a very, very good game, very, very involved. And let's continue with him playing. Bruno Fernandes, Mr. Captain, on his 250th appearance for Manchester United. I'm going to give him a 7.5 today, because I think today, listen, he still gave the ball away at moments. He still made some bad passes, but I think he did more good passes than bad passes. So certainly, I think that's a positive. I think, when you could do more good than bad, it's a positive. He obviously scored a goal, right? The other one he was involved in, but it was given as an own goal. But, he made it sort of happen because he was there, hit off him and whatever. And then he got an assist as well. And that is the Bruno that is a little bit more what we're used to. Getting involved in the goals and assists, and then also doing a good job, when you're on the pitch, and in terms of creating good chances and making good passes, and making more good passes than bad passes. I don't have a problem if a player does make certainly some bad passes, maybe to give the ball away, or they're a little bit sloppy here, but you got to do more good than you do bad. And, part of the problem was that Bruno was doing more bad than good. Today, I certainly think that you can say that, Bruno was doing more good than bad. Again, just it was a captain's performance today. Let me get to the chat. Grace saying Delo and Ahmad are our best players. Don't anyone dare argue with me. That's you can never say anything bad about Delo to Grace. Listen, Lines, she's got the bias for Delo. It's okay. Let it have her biases. It's okay. We have it, we know. No, but listen, I like Delo, and I think he's a good player. I think he's just struggling right now. That's all it is. I don't think for me, I don't think I won't say that Delo is a bad player. I won't say like Delo is shit. He can play like shit in a match, but I don't think that means that Delo as a whole is a shit player. I think Delo is a good player. He's just going through a little bit of a rough patch right now. He's a little bit out of form, right? And I expect him to come back into form. I think we've seen this from Delo anyway. And we see this from all multiple different types of players, but we've seen this from Delo before as well. where he goes a little bit out of form, and then we hit a period where he comes back into form and he's absolutely brilliant. So, I'm not too worried about Dalot. I'm worried about Marcus Rashford. He is the one that worries me the most, and we're going to get to Rashford when I get to his player rating. But Mr. Latman saying the ref didn't like Dalot today. He needs to find a new career. The ref, not Dalot. The ref understood. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But the one that when Dalot wakes up, he'll come good. Yeah, I mean, this happens. And again, I don't even think Dalot was like, to play awful, you got to get like a 4 or lower. And I don't think Dalot played awful. I just don't think. I think Dalot was putting in such good performances that we're now seeing what Dalot is doing, and we're a bit underwhelmed with it. That's all it is, because we know that he can perform better than what he's giving us. So, it goes both ways as well. Like, he was playing good. He was very, very good, and he's dropped off from that point. And now people are looking at it, and they're like, they're like, well, what has happened to Dalot? And it's like, well, we know what you're capable of, and we want you to do that, but. We're kind of looking at it like, well, you're not doing what you were doing before, so now you're certainly playing not as good. But I think some people are taking it too far, and that they're really questioning Dalot as a player. And I'm like, nah, not for me, not at this point, not at this point. Like, if he continues this way for the next like 3 months straight, then obviously we have a serious problem on our hand. But players go in and out of form. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried. Dalot can sack managers. Today he was sleepy. Yeah, he was a little bit sleepy. He was off of it. He's been like that for a couple games now, but I expect him to come back into it. For sure. Now, the one that we're gonna have to talk about, and the one that I kind of hate talking about it in a certain way, because I feel like we're beating dead animal with a stick, or whatever the saying is. Is Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford, for me today, I would go so far. See, the thing is, if I'm giving Dalot a 5.5, right, or a 5, Marcus Rashford, he's got to get like a 4 or a 4.5, because I think Marcus Rashford was certainly much, much worse than Diego Dalot. And if Diego Dalot played bad, then Marcus Rashford played very, very poor. Because the reason why I don't like talking about it too much is because it's like we're talking about it all the time. And it's certainly very annoying. It is absolutely annoying that we have to constantly talk about it. And this cannot continue at Manchester United. He cannot continue in this manner at Manchester United. And he gets a lot of scrutiny already. He's been getting a lot of scrutiny for numerous amount of years. Even when he played good, he would get a lot of scrutiny, right? And I don't enjoy it, because I feel like I'm jumping in on sort of the pylon. But at the same time, you got to be fair and you got to be honest. And the honest truth and the fairness is that Marcus Rashford is not playing good at all. He in any capacity. The guy doesn't get involved. He can't dribble. I mean, I don't know what he did today. Couldn't dribble. His first touches were atrocious. He ghosted, half of the time that he was on the pitch. And he was by far our worst player on the pitch today. And that's sad. And I'm worried about him, because there's just, there was that little bit of a resurgence that we thought maybe this is him turning the corner. And it only lasted just slightly, and now it looks like it's going back to what it was, and now it looks like once again he's not enjoying any aspect of Manchester United. He's not enjoying being on the pitch. He's not enjoying playing football. And I don't know what is how do you get this guy to perform? How do you get this guy to come back to enjoy his time in Manchester United? Because a lot of people will say just get rid of him, and that's fine. you know, you can get rid of him, but we can't get rid of him right now. So how do you solve the issue with Marcus Rashford? Because the issue that we have at hand right now in this moment is that we have a player like Marcus Rashford who we know when he's in form and he enjoys himself, um, he can help the team out and he can get goals and he can get assists, but he's not doing anything close to that, and he's on 300 and whatever thousand a week. um and we need him to have some type of form, because if you're talking about Marcus Rashford is going to continue to perform in the way he's performing, we're down to two players on the wings, and we can't be down to two players in the wings because we have a full season ahead of us. We can't have just two wingers. We can't just have Amad Diallo and Garnacho, because what happens if one of them get injured? What happens if one of them is out of form? You know, it impacts the squad depth a lot. So we need to figure out how can we get this guy to play better, because it's really hard to watch right now. I'm not going to lie. It's very hard to watch. Like, I watch and I want him to do good, and I hope that he does good. And then I watch the things he does on the pitch, and I'm just like, I was like, I don't know what's wrong with you. You look like a shell of the player that we had 2 seasons ago. You look like a shell of the player that when you are in form and you are that Marcus Rashford that we've seen you been before, you know, something is wrong. And I just don't know what it is anymore. I don't know what it is. And listen, Ruud van Nistelrooy did what he had to do. And I think Ruud van Nistelrooy was fair. Like, you know, he dropped Garnacho because I think Garnacho struggled a little bit last match and didn't have his best match, and he put Marcus Rashford back in. And Marcus Rashford didn't have a very good game. And I think that's the way we have to move forward with this right now. And I think, you know, Garnacho coming in, scoring that goal that he did, and getting more involved in the game. You know what I mean? You know, for me, obviously, because Ruben Amorim is taking over now, but obviously I think Ruud would go into the next match and he would certainly start Garnacho back again and put Rashford back on the bench and start Ahmad on the right, because you know, at this moment, just Garnacho is Garnacho is outperforming Rashford. But we certainly have a problem because it's like Anthony doesn't really hit these heights. And he's not getting used, clearly. And Marcus Rashford is completely out of form. And it's just a worry. Mr. Labman was saying that he hopes that the players will work for Amorim as if they've done for Ruud. Well, they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to, Mr. Labman, because I think I don't really think they have a choice. I think at this moment in time, and this is why it's important for Ineos to follow through on their job and do the proper things. Ineos must back that manager at all costs. So they need to know these players and they need to examine, and I think they're doing it to a certain extent in a certain way, because, you know, the likes of Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox, they will be looking at the performances that these players are playing in. They will also take into account, you know, all types of things. How long have you been at this club? What is the averages of your performances, statistics, and stuff like that? What wage are we paying you? And what impact are you having on the matches as an overall whole? And if these players, you know, aren't basically worth what they're being paid for, I do honestly believe at this very moment in time that Ineos will kick them out of the club. That they will be removed from the club. So not only should they play, or not only should they work for Amorim, but they must also work for themselves, because I think the time for them to kind of, you know, get a free pass at Manchester United is certainly coming to an end. And I do think that merit and performance-based is certainly coming back into Manchester United. And we're going to see for sure when we get to the summer and when we get to the end of the season, or somebody like, you know, if Marcus Rashford continues this way, there is a huge argument for him to be sold and moved on. And I totally get that. And then it would come down to, what does Ineos decide to do in the summer? Will they pull the trigger? Will they have the balls? Will they make a big statement? Because they can certainly make a big statement, you know, if Marcus Rashford continues to play this poor for the rest of the season and has a really poor season, they will make a big statement. And the statement will be like, this free ride bullshit at Manchester United, and it all falling on the manager, and you get to continue your career here at Manchester United when you are part of the problem and you haven't performed, is ending. It is over. And players that we give you a good wage and we think you're supposed to be an important player and you don't live up to that, your time will be cut short here. And it's something that they certainly have to do. Lyons is saying, I agree. Unfortunately, Rashford was non-existent today. He was. Ray says Rashford takes a 3.5 for me. And Gray's saying he was defo in Belfast last night. Well, I hope not. I mean, he played like it. He played like it. I hope he wasn't. You know, he certainly played like that. He certainly played like he was doing something, you know, that he shouldn't have been. Lyons is saying Ruud van Nistelrooy looked rather down in his press conference a moment ago. I think he might have been told he's leaving. Maybe. Maybe he's been told and he can't really say it. You know, I don't know exactly. Or maybe he spoke to, you know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe was at the match. Maybe Sir Jim Ratcliffe told him after the match. So, you know, but also, you know, it's kind of sad because even for him, like, I'm sure he's taken quite a liking to just being the United manager. And now you kind of got to, you know, you kind of gotten a little accustomed to that. You've done full matches and now you got to sort of come out of that. So, you know, there's that aspect as well. Like, you know, it's like, it's almost like getting your favorite ice cream and you were only allowed to eat like half of it and then somebody's come and taking it away from you. And it's like, well, that sucks. I didn't really get to finish it. You know what I mean? So, like, it's it's a little bit of a bittersweet type of thing, you know? Like, he's gotten a little taste for it, and it's getting taken away from him, and I'm sure he's enjoyed it. And it's you know, it's a dream of his. So, of course, he's going to be a little bit down anyway, regardless. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And Lyle's saying, man, Rashford is annoying. The guy lives in his head. He needs to shrink. He needs a shrink to talk out of his issues. Well, you know, I don't know what the, I don't know what the, I don't know what you do to solve Marcus Rashford because we don't know what the core issue is. Like, you would have to sit down with people at United, and you would also have to have Marcus Rashford there as well, and really just like sit down and kind of hash it out. And figure out what is the problem, and you got to hear it from Marcus Rashford, and then you also have to get the people that are with him every day, that are there at work with him, you know, the coaches, the you know, and even the manager and stuff like that. Like, you know, that's the only way you could really actually sort it out. Even as far as to go to talk to maybe some of his family members, because he might tell the family members things he's not going to tell teammates, coaches, stuff like that. You know, like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. To me, he just seems unhappy. Why he's unhappy, I don't know. Is he unhappy with himself because he's playing like shit? Is he happy at the? Is he unhappy at the club? For whatever reason, is he unhappy? You know, is he just throwing a fucking, you know, a tantrum because you know, he's not playing 90 minutes every match. Like, you know, I don't know what it is. It's unfair to say what it would specifically be, because I don't know. But we can only guess. But he does seem very unhappy to me, which concerns me, because when a player is not unhappy, you're not going to get the best version of the player. And I would really like to know why he is unhappy. Like, what is it that has happened or is going on? What is your reason for being unhappy? Like, I want to know, because if it's something like you're not getting picked and you're not playing 90 minutes, well, then fucking boo-hoo, cry me a river. Like, do better. You know, if it's more of like he's disappointed in himself and he's being hard on himself, like mentally wise, because he's not playing well, and things aren't necessarily going well, and it's leading to him not being picked, and he's kind of just sort of depressed with the whole situation as a whole. I can understand that. You know, if he's taking it very hard on himself, I can get that aspect, and you got to then help him get in the correct mentality. Like, that is something you can help him with. But, you know, there's certain things that I will understand and accept. But if it's just him being like, If it's him more so being sort of a spoiled brat, then I'm not having fucking none of that. I don't care about that. If it's him struggling with himself, his own mentality, and he's kind of bringing himself down in his own head, and it's leading to unhappiness, and then other things are happening around that are sort of bringing him down. I can understand that. That I can understand how that can bring you down. You dig yourself a hole, and then the hole gets deeper and deeper by itself. So whatever it is, but the people at Manchester United, they need to be more concerned. They need to figure out, like, hey, we have a problem with Marcus Rashford. We need to figure out what is going down with him. I feel like Fergie would do something like that, where like they would clearly he would clearly obviously know, like, there is something wrong with this player. Call him into his office and basically talk to him, and Marcus Rashford wouldn't be allowed to leave Fergie's office until Ferguson basically figured out what the hell is the problem. And if he doesn't get the answers from his problem, you best for sure he's calling his mother, he's calling his brother, he's calling half his family to figure shit out that maybe Marcus Rashford didn't want to tell Ferguson. So we got to start doing something, because there's clearly a deep issue there, and something is wrong. Ruud is a threat for Amorim. Ruud has to go. I think in the way of, from the player aspect, I certainly think so. I think Ruud himself, personally, I don't think is a threat. I think Ruud I think he loves Manchester United. I think Ruud would be willing to help Manchester United in any way Ruud Van Nistelrooy can possibly. I think he loves the club, and he would love nothing more than to stay at the club. The issue is the players. The issue is the players. You cannot have the dynamic of that the players look up to you more than the actual head coach. They cannot respect you more than the head coach. And unfortunately, him being there, it lays ground for that to potentially happen. So it's nothing against Ruud Van Nistelrooy. I don't think Ruud Van Nistelrooy is not a cynical man. Ruud Van Nistelrooy is not going to be there to try and backstab Amorim and take his job and make him fail so he could be. That's not what Ruud Van Nistelrooy is about. But it certainly allows something to grow and cultivate from the player aspect if he stays. So I do think that he does have to go right now. And then Grace is saying we've got the fidget spinner. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what's the fidget spinner gonna give? A couple twirls on the pitch. I mean, if he does the fidget spinny thing and he kicks the ball into the box, or he kicks the ball into the net, I'm all for it. Go away. But he does the fidget spinny thing, and then nothing really comes out of it. So I don't know. Mr. Ladman says Ruud did the right thing. The players has to compete among each other. Well, absolutely. And that's something that I think was a difference between Ruud Van Nistelrooy and Erik ten Hag. And that's what I'm saying. Like, each of these managers, or these people, these men, like, they're different human beings. They have a different brain. They have different ideas. They handle situations differently. Like, things will be different regardless. And I think things were certainly different under Ruud Van Nistelrooy than under Erik ten Hag. Now, was the playing style necessarily different? No, we still played a sort of possession type of game, but we played it a little bit in a different manner. But again, Ruud, I think, even with the rotation and sort of the competition, yeah, I think he did do the right thing, and you have to have them. And Grace is agreeing, even saying that, we need competition in every position. Look at Maz and Delo. And we certainly do. We certainly do. And that's why I'm saying Marcus Rashford, whether, a ton of people will just go and say, sell Marcus Rashford. He is a problem. He's a bad player. That's all well and fine, but we can't sell him right now. So, it's all well and fine to sit there and every match, after every match, you can sit there and say, sell Marcus Rashford. He is a problem. He is a bad player. He needs to leave the club. That's fine if you think that. But what are we going to do about him right now? Because whether you like it or not, we need him. The same thing goes for Anthony. We need him. They are a part of the squad. They are two players that are offered depth in a certain sense. And if we lose one of Garnacho or Diallo to an injury or bad form, what are we going to do? Because then we're just playing players that are in bad form, they're going to come in and they're not going to be able to help the team. So it is certainly an issue at this point, in this moment in time, in the midst of a season. When you get to the summer, you can do what you got to do, and you do what's right. If you think he's got to go, you move him on, you sell him. But right now, we need to figure out how do you help this player pull himself out of this pit, because it's hard to watch. It really is. It's hard to watch. It's like every game we go into, and it's like he just looks like he plays in a manner where he looks like he just doesn't even want to play football anymore. Like he might as well just retire. Um, you know, and it's a lad from Manchester, so as well, like that sucks. Like you don't want to see one of your, I mean, you don't want to see any United player like that, but it sucks more when it's a player that's come through your youth academy, and you see him sort of not enjoying the club that he's basically lived at his whole life. So, well, Amorim is coming for sure. Chelsea and Arsenal at halftime, so that's very good. Hopefully they stay 0-0 at halftime. It was almost a perfect day. Newcastle kind of ruined it because Nottingham Forest were beating them 1-0, and then they came back and beat them 3-1. But Tottenham lost, so we gained some points in them as well. They got absolutely cooked, so haha to them. And hopefully the best thing that we could get is Chelsea and Arsenal draw at full time. They both dropped 2 points each, and we're a little bit closer to them as well. So that's very, very good. Hopefully that continues. Marcus Rashford problem is his brother, who is his manager. Well, it could be. I mean, there is talks that, the people around Marcus Rashford are certainly a problem. They haven't helped him. So, and I've heard his brother say some comments. And it sort of kind of seems that way, but again, I don't know his brother, and I don't know what he's actually like. And obviously, to an extent, he's his brother, so he's obviously gonna come out and make public statements defending his own brother. And he is his agent, I believe, as well. But whatever it is, that's not for us to really, it's not for us to diagnose and come up with a solution. That's for Manchester United. Like, it is their player. It is one of their own. Like, you must figure out what it is and you must address it. Like, that is something for Ineos and Manchester United to take care of. They know more than us. They know they have the power to do something about it. So Tottenham lost, Forest lost. Table looking better, even though we are lingering in 13th, 4 points off top four. And yeah, it is. And this is what happens when you start getting good results. We're not far off. Okay, we're in 13th, but we're not far off but we're not far off of top four. And if you keep getting good results, you keep putting yourself in a better position. So Warren J is in here. Good to see you, Warren. Warren is saying the thing is Rashford and his team thinks Rashford and his team thinks he's bigger than football. Well, maybe so. And maybe, the people around him have sort of built up their mentality to him, and have kind of poisoned it / soured his mentality a bit. Because I think certainly, there's that aspect of Marcus Rashford does seem like a more of a quiet human being, but then there's also this other side of Marcus Rashford where it seems like he's being pushed as a brand, and I don't think that really is Marcus Rashford's sort of personality. I more think that's the people around him that have created the sort of Marcus Rashford brand, MR10, like that whole thing is a brand, and I think that brand side has really influenced him very badly. But Gray saying we should have sold Rashford when his brother spoke to PSG. Then Eric came in and had an amazing season, then got a new contract. Well, yeah, if we had competent people, they might have looked at that at the time, and they would have been like, well, he just had an amazing season. His stock's going to be at an all-time high. Let's move him on, and we'll get the highest possible, fee, instead of giving him an actual new contract. But now we're in a place where, he's on higher wages. The contract is much newer. And he's not playing good, so his stock has definitely gone down. But let's finish the ratings, because I didn't get there. Rasmus Højlund, I got to give him a 5 because of just the lack of being involved in today's match. I think part of it is not, again, I think it's split both ways. I think part of it's not his fault, but then other parts, I think he makes the mistake of getting too frustrated with the lack of service, and he then does start going all over the place and not putting himself in the position that he should, in my opinion, always be, which is on the last line of defense and definitely in the box, the furthest one forward. But I get why he does that. But he just wasn't very involved in today. And it's a little bit it's cutting a frustrating figure for sure for me. Because I know he can do good. I know he can score goals. I know he can be an important player, and it's just not happening. And I'm waiting for it to kind of come about, because I think the team as a whole needs to do a better job to service this man. And then I think he also needs to be aware that, when things like that happen, you cannot just start floating around all over the place and being out of position, because what happens is the ball does finally come there, and while it shouldn't take that long for the ball to actually get there, when it does get there, you're not there. And then that frustrates me more, because I'm just like, just fucking be there. Just be there, because eventually it will. And it seems like sort of that thing, like you just can't buy, you can't just get a break. It's like when he's there, it doesn't come. When he's not there, then it comes. And it's just like, just stay there, so that when it does come, it'll be there. Johnny, I'll give a 6. Because he did all right when he came in. Ericsson did a 6. He had that lovely no look pass that kind of started that attack and stuff like that. But substitute did all right. Garnacho is going to be one of those subs that actually get. We're going to have to give him a 7, because he came in. He had a much bigger impact than Marcus Rashford. He got more involved, and he scored a wonder goal. So absolutely wonderful take. That's what he was looking for the whole time. So yeah, came in and secured the game, and pretty much ended it. Because 2-0, they always say, is more dangerous than 1-0. I don't know who says that, but I think, sometimes when you see teams at 2-0 and then they concede a goal, then they go on to concede. They go on to concede more than one. So yeah, he ended the game and he came in and he was good. And Xerxes, I give him a 6. I think he did all right link up wise. He still looks a little bit. See, for me, Xerxes is not. I'm being honest. Like, Xerxes is not the striker that I enjoy, right? But I'm trying to give him opportunity. I'm trying to give him a chance, to grow, to develop, to get into the game. But for me, he's just not the sort of player that I necessarily enjoy as striker. But I'm not gonna, just because of that, I'm not gonna, just throw him away and toss him aside. I'm looking to see if he can develop and grow. I think he did okay I think he did good in the link up play. Just striker wise, in terms of, like, trying to get a shot off or whatever, it was sort of similar to Rasmus, and in that aspect wasn't too involved. So and Ruud Van Nistelrooy, I give him Ruud's not a player, so I'll give him an 8. Because he got 3-0 win, another clean sheet, send off, last final thing for him. And I think he did a very, very good job as interim. He definitely certainly steadied the ship. And I think he did a very good job coming in. So I'm gonna give Ruud an 8. But he's not a player, so he's not gonna be man of the match, of course. And did I miss a player? I might have missed somebody. Did I? What do you mean? But man of the match, I probably am gonna give it to. Oh. Probably. I'm gonna give it to UGARTE. I think he did very, very good. All around, all whole 90 minutes. I give it to Manuel UGARTE today. I think he played very, very well. And the whole game he was just super, super solid. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Manuel. I think there was arguments for, you could have maybe gave it to Bruno as well for involvement in today's game. And somebody like, even like Garnacho getting involved a little bit, but obviously he was only on the pitch for a short amount of time. So I think, yeah, for sure. I would certainly give it to Manuel. I think Manuel deserves it 100%. What are you guys saying? All profit too. Well, yeah, on Rashford, yeah. Rasmus is a decoy for others, but he needs to work on his first touch. Well, I don't sort of like that anyway. Like, I want our striker to be the focal point, and one of the main players. I don't like this, like, Rasmus is the decoy and, like, it's all for, like, the wingers and then Bruno and other players. Like, I don't like that. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, he's the striker. Like it's literally his ability is to, like, score goals. Like, why should he be a decoy? You know? I don't like that. So, Gray saying, what I don't understand is we wanted Kane. We clearly couldn't get him. Then went for Højlund, who was a backup for Atalanta. There were other forwards on the market. Well, I think that the whole thing was they wanted both, right, Grace? Like, I think that was what the thing was at the time. Like, they wanted an experienced striker as in Harry Kane, and they wanted a younger player like Rasmus Højlund. They actually wanted both, and we were told that Harry Kane was too expensive, and therefore we couldn't get him. And then they went and they just ended up getting Rasmus Højlund, so they only got the younger player and they didn't get, but they messed up that whole, you know, all the finances and stuff like that. And he was a backup, but I think Højlund is a good player. I just don't think he gets. I just don't think we play to him. So it just at times it doesn't seem very good. But I think when he gets given opportunities, I think he's very effective, but it's just a very frustrating situation. Højlund is a good striker. He just needs more passes often, says Amir. And Gray says, remember when we had McTominay? Højlund made runs off the ball to make space for others to run into the scoring opportunities, and it should have been the other way around. And no, yeah, I do agree with you. Like, is there no vapor smoke from your vape? There might be a little bit, but there you go. There's a little bit. So I just don't take the big hits, you know what I mean? So Ugarte, yeah, man of the match for sure. And Ruud had some things. But I don't actually, we don't have I don't have time to cover it because I do have to go, unfortunately. And it was a good show and it was a good discussion. But to Grace's last point, that you're absolutely right, Grace. Like that was another thing. Like, and I remember criticizing that as to why the hell is McTominay basically in Rasmus's position. He would be in Rasmus's position a lot. So you know, I never liked that either. And this is what I'm saying. Like this whole thing with Rasmus being like this decoy or whatever it is. Like, I don't like that. Like, I'm traditional in that he is our striker. He should be the main focal point of the attack, and we should be giving him as many opportunities, as many chances as possible. And I think under Amorim's system, that is going to be addressed and that is going to be fixed, hopefully. I know there's a lot of interchangeability. I know there's a lot of fluidity in that system, but I think if you just look at Gaio Queiroz, and Gaio Queiroz being literally their top scorer and one of the top scorers in all 5 leagues, I think there's good hope that this comes about, because I think it will benefit Rasmus Højlund immensely. And I do believe in him to score goals, and I do believe that he can be a player that scores 20 plus goals a season. But he needs chances, he needs opportunities, his confidence needs to grow from the goals. And we need to play in a manner that provides him those things. So yeah, Mr. Labman saying Højlund can learn a lot from Xerxes and Xerxes from Højlund. Well, they can in certain aspects, you know, because I think Xerxes does well in link-up play, and Rasmus is a lot better in sort of breaking the lines and you know, I would even say sort of getting a chance, but his life is made harder getting a chance by the way we play. So or at least taking a chance, you know what I mean? Eric's going to get ice cream. No, it's too cold for ice cream. I gotta eat. I gotta go run and do some things. So I got to get prepared. So the thing with Hoyland is I'm not seeing much progress from last year. Well, it's hard to see progress when we don't play in the manner to kind of provide that. It's a very frustrating thing. So I think if we play a little bit more to him and give him more opportunities, I think we'll then say like, well, we're gonna see some more progress. So let's see what happens under Amorim. Some of you weren't here yesterday. I don't know if you caught the show, but I do want to tell you guys that so I'm starting a job because I do work in construction. I'm starting tomorrow, and I'm going to be working long hours. We're going to be doing 10 hours a day from Monday to Friday, and then we'll also be working Saturdays 8 hours. So I might not be as available to do shows as we previously have been. So if we have matches during the week, I won't be able to do Red Devil recaps for the time being. It's going to be about a 2 month, 3 month sort of thing. So I won't be able to do Red Devil recaps because they'll be too long. Um, like they'll be like, the match will end by the time I get home. It'll be very late, and stuff like that. So maybe I'll do kind of a pre-record and then put it out the following day or something. Maybe it won't necessarily be a live. And yeah, it's gonna be very time constrained. Obviously, if we play on Sundays, I will be able to do Red Devil recaps and stuff like that. But even like the new shows, are kind of gonna suffer because to do a live stream at the time that I'm gonna be getting home and I still need to eat and shower and then go to sleep because I gotta be up at like 4 o'clock in the morning every day. Um, it's gonna be very, very difficult. So the show might take a bit of a hit. I'm gonna try and do the best I can and find an opportunity here and there when I can. But if you just see us going live less, it's for that reason, and it's only temporary. And it's only for the time being because there's only so much I can do. You know what I mean? It's pretty much out of my hands. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I'll try. Let me get into it. Let me go, to the job and come home and kind of see how that goes sort of the first week, and maybe I'll come up with an idea or something to kind of continue something. Maybe we kind of do one show a week. They might be very late if we do it alive. If not, I'll sort of do like a pre-record recap everything that's gone on over a period of days and then put it out as a pre-record and do it that way. And then obviously we'll be able to go live on days like going forward, Saturday evening or Saturday night. We'll be able to do that, and Sunday we'll be able to do a show as well. So during the week it's going to be very difficult. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I haven't figured out, but we will figure it out. So I just want to thank all of you for always coming here and supporting the channel. I know you guys will be supporting, no matter what we end up doing in one way or another. And Grace is saying, so give me a recommendation for a job at Scott. Yeah, so thank you guys for supporting. Thank you everybody that smashed the like button. If you didn't smash the like button, and you can do that, because I see we got 13 people in here. We got 9 likes, so if we could get it to even amounts, that'd be very good because it helps the channel grow. And if you're subscribed and you're new, thank you for subscribing. Shout out to everybody that's got involved in the chat. I will talk to you guys hopefully very, very soon. I will provide some sort of update in the community notes or something on, a plan or something like that going forward. But we will see. I don't expect to go live tomorrow. For the very least, or maybe even a Tuesday. So we're gonna have to see. But thank you guys for always supporting. And I enjoy our talks, and take care of yourselves. And if at the very least, at the very minimum, I'll see you guys. Maybe sort of on a Saturday or Sunday at the if worst comes to worst, I'll see you guys next weekend. But I'll keep you guys updated and I'll keep you guys posted, and we'll figure it out. So big up to all of you. Big up to Warren, Jay, big up to Lyle, big up to Mr. Labman, Grace, Lions, Ray, Amir was in here, and RSV as well. Yeah, and everybody that gets involved in the chat, big up to you guys. So thank you very much. We'll talk very soon. And we look forward to Ruben Amorim taking over and starting. Fortunately enough, though, we do have, you know, a 2-week break for the international break. So maybe we're not gonna miss too much. We'll just miss a couple news shows here and there. So maybe it'll be a little bit easier. So we won't miss too much. So we're good on that. But thank you, Lyle, appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully it goes well. Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. We're not going to disappear forever, you know what I mean? We're not going to disappear permanently. So we'll be here. I'll talk to you guys soon, though. Be good, enjoy yourselves. Have the best. Be good, stay safe, and we'll talk soon. We'll talk very soon.